I think in the first game week, you mentioned that the backup quarterback would depend on when that need kind of arose, but all we have seen is Will Howard at this point. Has he just made that substantial of improvement since then?
Yeah, I really feel like from day one he jumped out at you pretty good, but he's continued to grow, continued to understand the system, has done a nice job taking care of the football if it's in practice or obviously in the game, and right now I feel comfortable with him. I also feel comfortable if Nick is put in a position to play. I think he'll do a good job as well, but Will has kind of grasped it a little bit and done a nice job with it.
Jacardia Wright didn't play in the first game, but seems like he's played a little bit more with each one since then. Is he kind of ascending back up to the trajectory we saw from him last year towards the end of the season?
A little bit of a work in progress. I told some other media folks that a little bit of it depends on the package that he's in. Early last week, he played maybe 2 or 3 plays in the first maybe 8 or 9, 10 plays. And it just depends on how the game's flowing and the package that we have him in. So he could play he could go out there and play 15, 20 snaps, or he could end up with 2 or 3. Just depends on how the game flows.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Kellis?
Hey, Courtney, do you have a sense yet for how much you might want to play Skylar, might want to play Will, or maybe even play both of them against TCU?
Well, yeah, a little bit more just kind of a work in progress of how things flow and how Skylar continues to come along. And, the biggest thing is for us is just, hey, we all got to stay in mentally on what they do, because TCU has obviously everybody knows over the last 20 years have had great defenses, and we've got to really understand what they're trying to do and take care of the football and just do a good job executing whichever guy's in there.
You've had back-to-back weeks where lining up Deuce Vaughn in the slot has worked out very well for you. What is it about him in that position that has led to these explosive plays?
Well, I think the biggest thing is he's very, very comfortable catching the football. And then, anytime you can get him in space, one of the biggest things he brings to the table is quickness and quick twitch. And if he can get out in space, he's probably going to get open, and he does a great job catching the football without fighting it.
John?
Yeah, Courtney, I guess just to clarify then, you're saying it's still day-to-day kind of a thing with Skylar, depends on how he progresses as to whether or not he's available?
Yes, sir.
And with Will, how comfortable is he with the typical kind of offensive playbook that would be available, say, to Skylar? I mean, how much do you have to shrink it if he is the guy?
A little bit, but not a bunch. He's very, very cerebral. There's a guy that really spent a lot of time in the COVID time in the spring going through cut-ups and trying to continue to learn, and Skylar did a good job helping him learn. Obviously, he missed the physical reps of no spring ball and not having, quote, those captains type practices in the summer. But as far as mentally learning who we are and what we do, I don't believe I'd have to shrink the playbook very much.
Like best, just when you went back and looked at the film of what he did last week?
Well, the best thing is taking care of the football and operating in and out of the huddle. I mean, those are 2 huge deals in our style of football.
Thanks, Courtney.
Yep.
Got 2 more here, starting with Michael. You there, Michael? Okay, we'll go on to Jackson.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, Courtney, how crucial has this turnover story been, and how do you impart that wisdom to Will Howard?
Well, for us, the turnover is huge, and knock on wood, we just need to every week go out and every play go out and take care of the football. That and scoring when we get opportunity in the red zone, we've got to keep doing a nice job with that. And it's not just Will, it's not just any individual, it's the entire 11 that are out there, understanding that, if you're a tight end and you miss a block and somebody hits the back when he doesn't expect it, a turnover could happen. And all of us got to understand they're a big part of taking care of the football.
Thanks.
Jackson.
Yeah, Coach, you talked a little bit earlier about how Will's kind of taken some jumps and separated himself as being the second guy in line. Is he where you thought he would be at developmentally by now?
I'm very happy with where he is at. I don't know if I had a any great or any expectation that he should be here or should be there. The thing that I do know is once he got on campus, his desire to learn was off the charts, and that's a huge deal. But just learning the playbook doesn't get you to produce out there on the game field. You got to be able to take the playbook to the field, and he's done a nice job of that.
And then I guess to this point, what you've seen from him, where does he have the biggest room for improvement moving forward?
Well, I think with every guy that's their really first, second, third type games in there, it's how quickly can I process and get it out of my hand. Because just using TCU as an example, their back end is extremely quick. They are fast. They can run. So those windows are going to shrink. You got to process and pull the trigger and get it out of your hand. I'm not saying that it's exactly this way, but because I've never coached in the NFL, but they talk all the time that college quarterbacks now, it's got to become that much quicker, that much faster decision, that because the windows close faster. And that's what's going to be when you play TCU. Their DBs can really, really run.
And then just one last question for you, Coach. What has Skylar's role this week been in developing those secondary quarterbacks like Will this week?
Well, Skylar's just done a phenomenal job of staying focused and like making sure he understands the game plan, and all those guys get with Coach Klein and really go through. Here, this is what we're thinking. This is what we believe we're going to see. This is how we want to attack it. And all the quarterbacks have done a great job just being on the same page. Now we got to go execute on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach.
Last one here, the Zoom background king, Fitz.
Coach, you lost Wyking Gill last week to an injury, and Josh Youngblood was out. Do you have an updated status? Will Youngblood be available this weekend?
I anticipate Josh playing, yes, and he's definitely in the game plan.
When it comes to receivers, do you have anyone else now that Gill's probably gone for the season that you might work in there that might be next in line to start seeing some time?
Well, I think the guy, and he's already been getting some reps, not a million, but some reps is Landry Weber, and he's a huge special teams guy for us. But Landry and Seth Porter could see the field easily in a receiver role. And then Sebastian and Malik and Brooks have got to keep stepping up with Josh as far as we've got enough guys. We just got to get them all to be in there, all to be playing together in their roles. Obviously, we don't have room for 6 of them out on the field at one time, but they've all got their roles, and they got to stay healthy and keep learning and keep growing as both physically and mentally.